So in this video, I will demonstrate a few data analysis techniques. So we will not be trying to find a story in the data set per se, but I will demonstrate formulas such as sum, average, median, how to apply filters, and we will also look at a great function called Google Translate. So we will use this data set, which is a list of African countries by population. It is a table, so we will first import it into our spreadsheet. So we'll copy the URL. I've created this Google Sheets spreadsheet. We'll put equal import HTML. I will put the URL between quotation marks. Then we will put table. Index number is 1. I've checked it already. There we go. Then we will select everything and paste the values only. That should be all familiar by now. And I can actually close the original website. Now let's widen our columns by selecting everything. Now it's cleaner. Right off the bat, we will erase those two columns, date of last figure and the source. We could keep them, but we do not need them. So I will just select them and then delete columns D and E. Perfect. Now we have official figure were available. And we have the rank. So Nigeria is the most populous. Then we have the name of the country or dependent territory. And then we have the official figure when it comes to the population. So I will first freeze the first row. So I'll click on View, freeze one row, Data, create filters. There we go. Double click to widen everything here. We'll double click. Perfect. Rank as well. Looks much better. The next step is to tell the system that we have numbers here. So I'll select it and I'll click on Format, Number. And I will tell the system that we're dealing with numbers. Then I have decimals. I don't need those. So I will come back here, numbers, and I will click on more formats, custom number formats, and I will remove the decimals. There we go. Because we're dealing with population numbers, so there are no decimals, right? Sounds much better. With the filter, the great thing we can do is that we can come here and we could sort everything alphabetically or in increasing values or decreasing values or reverse alphabetical order. So we'll click here. And now we have the most populous countries first. If we click on sort A to Z, we have the least populous territory or country first, right? So filters will allow you to reselect some values. I'll come back here. We could technically filter by condition. There are none here, but you could say that you want to filter by greater than. So in this case, we could put, I want only countries with more than 10 million people. And I will click OK. I now only have countries with more than 10 million people. And we know that those countries are the top 30. So filters are great. I'll sort everything back from A to Z, and then I will delete the condition here, so none. Select all, okay. I will come back to my original state and then I will click on Z2A, there we go, to put them in decreasing, in order of decreasing value, right? So that's how you would use a filter here. Another thing we could do is that I would like to know how many people are in Africa. So I will come here and I will put equal sum, and then I will select the entire column. So sum, parentheses, then C2 to C59, and then I will close off the formula. and I have more or less 1.27 billion people. Let's say 1.3 is the generally accepted number. And notice that I say 0.3, but really we're using commas here as our thousand separators. But we would normally say 1.3 billion or 1.27 in this case. So I will identify it here as the sum so that it's clear. Another thing we could do is that I would like to know the average population in those 54 African countries, and I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4 territories. So I will put average just so that we know, and then the formula would be equal average. And then I will select the entire column once again. Close it off, enter. So the average population in those African countries and territories is 21, nearly 22 million actually. The thing though is that we have like about 5,000 people here, and we have 206 million people in Nigeria. So that's not quite an average. So we could decide to use the filter to only select the 10 most populous countries and then do an average. Again, we're not really trying to find a story here. I'm more or less using this data set to demonstrate different formulas you might want to use. Another nice one is median. So we'll come back here, equal median. And then it's actually suggesting it based on the data. So I'll click, enter. But I will put 59 because it's giving me row 60, which is empty. And now the median population in those countries is about 10 million people. Again, not really a value we can do anything with at this point, but it is interesting to know. And the median normally means that it's the halfway mark, right? So there are half of those countries and territories that have less than 10 million people, or up to 10,262,361 in population, and half of those 54 countries and 4 territories, if I'm not mistaken, 58 values total, have more than that in population. So again, meaningless numbers per se, but that's how you would use sum, average, and median, which are 3 of the most useful formulas. Another thing we will do is that I will come here and remove this annotation next to Western Sahara. I'll come back up, I'll click on C, and I will add or insert a column on the left. And what we will do is that I will call it French. And let's say that I would like to know the name of all of those countries and territories in French. I'll come back here and I will put equal Google Translate. I will select this column, semicolon. I will put EN between quotation marks, FR, and close it off. And then I will double click here to widen it, or we can do it later. And then you will drag the formula down. Now it's loading. I will double click here to widen it. And now we have the names of all of those countries and territories in French using the Google Translate formula. And the syntax for the formula is to put the cell, then between English quotation marks, the original language, and then a comma or a semicolon, and then you would put the target language. So in this case, French. So that's how it works. Be careful with Google Translate. When using this formula, Turkey in French would become dinde, which is the animal, and France tends to become la France. So there are a few quirks, but again, if you're dealing with a large data set, say in a foreign language, using Google Translate might be a useful tool to, at the very least, get a general understanding of what it is that you're dealing with, and then you would do your due diligence and go through the data set row by row, column by column, to make sure that everything is legit and truthful. So that is how, in a nutshell, you would use filters, the Google Translate formula, and then the sum, average, and median formulas.